I trust you're doing well. You're watching RTV News live from Kigali. I'm Ethan Tashabia.
And I'm Gloria Mutesi. Hi, Ethan. How are you today?
Very well, Gloria. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Having a good weekend?
Yes, I think so.
Quite a number of news that have made headlines today, so let's see what you have tonight.
Well, we'll start it off today with presidential matters. This evening, President Kagame held a meeting with Lord Mr. Evgeny Lebedev, followed by a signing ceremony along Max Graham, CEO of Space for Giants. The ceremony marked Rwanda's official membership in the Giants Club and an initiative to promote responsible conservation. Space for Giants is an international conservation organization that protects the great wildlife landscapes that Africa's remaining wildlife needs to survive and thrive. The Giants Club is an initiative of Space for Giants, and its members include African heads of state, leaders of major business operating in Africa and internationally, philanthropists, global influencers, and wildlife conservation experts. The club unites the high-level political, financial, and technical leadership to protect under-threat landscapes that helps create wildlife economies that will unlock the ecological and economic value of these areas to secure their long-term viability. The club's founding 4 nation states, Botswana, Gabon, Kenya, and Uganda, are together home to half of Africa's savanna elephants and half of its forest elephants.
Thank you, Gloria, for that report. Another news, during the 21st Ordinary Summit of the East African Community Heads of State, President Paul Kagame stressed the need for greater cooperation in building a resilient and prosperous regional bloc. It is during this meeting that Kenya's Dr. Peter Mathuki was elected the new Secretary General of the East Africa Secretariat. The 21st Ordinary Summit of the East African Community Heads of State was held virtually as part of the measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19 pandemic that has been grappling the world for more than a year now. At the summit, Kenya replaced Rwanda at the chairmanship of the East African Community after the latter concluded its term. President Paul Kagame said that although the regional bloc has suffered from the effects of COVID-19 pandemic during this term, there is hope for rebuilding and progress.
This has been a year like no other for East Africa and for the world. Our health systems have been challenged like never before, and the disruption to travel and trade has been significant. This situation has had real impact on the well-being and livelihoods of our people. However, the positive examples of cooperation we have seen through our East African community institutions has played a role in mitigating the effects of the pandemic. Our focus now should be on rebuilding stronger than before, with closer regional cooperation as a pillar of our resilience and prosperity.
Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta, who took over the chairmanship of the East African Community, thanked his Rwandan counterpart for the good work he has done during his 2-year term.
On behalf of a grateful community, I commend my predecessor, His Excellency President Kagame, for ably chairing the summit and steering the community for the last 2 years. Indeed, under his visionary leadership, the community achieved commendable progress in areas of cooperation which set high standards for our future progress. Your Excellency, the community will always be indebted to your efforts to see the region being united and moving as a bloc for the benefit of the people of East Africa.
While the regional bloc has often been criticized by some for failure to implement its commitments, President Kenyatta indicated that the solution lies in building strong institutions that have the capacity to implement the aspirations of the community.
As the community realizes deeper and wider integration, it is necessary that the institutional framework is shaped to manage the due responsibility. The objective of the treaty will not be achieved unless the institutions established to run the community effectively handle their responsibilities. We will therefore focus on various reforms of the institutional structure to facilitate our community achieve the envisioned objectives for the benefit of today's as well as future generations.
The 21st East African Community Heads of State meeting approved Dr. Peter Mutuku Mathuki as the Secretary General of the East African Community Secretariat, replacing Ambassador Liberat Mufumukeko, a Burundian who has been in the position for 5 years. Dr. Mathuki, who will take office on April 25th, was serving as the Executive Director of the Arusha-based East African Community Business Council. The meeting also appointed 7 new judges to the East African Court of Justice, including 2 Rwandans, Lady Justice Mujeni Anita and Justice Richard Muhumuza. With regard to the application of the Democratic Republic of Congo and Somalia, which wish to join the East African Community, it has been decided that the Regional Council of Ministers will finalize the request for admission and submit a report to the 22nd meeting of the East Africa Heads of State. The Summit of East Africa Heads of State also added French to English and Swahili as official languages of the East African Community. Now, still on matters East Africa, Dr. Peter Mutuku Mathuki, who was picked from the list of 12 candidates to lead the East African Community Secretariat, is regarded as a suitable man to help address challenges witnessed in the last 5 years, which nearly brought the bloc to its knees. But who is Mathuki, who was largely backed by the regional corporate community? We have his profile. Dr. Peter Mathuki holds a PhD in Strategic Management and Regional Integration from the University of Nairobi, Kenya. He was serving as the Chief Executive Officer / the Executive Director of the East African Business Council, driving the private sector agenda in the East African region. The East African Business Council is the apex body of the Private Sector Association. It was established in 1997 to foster the interest of the private sector from the East African community. Dr. Mathuki is an expert in regional integration and has served in several regional organizations. He formerly served as a member of Parliament of the East Africa Legislative Assembly, where he chaired the EALA committee responsible for good governance and served in the Committee of Trade and Investment. He previously served as the director in charge of international labor standards at the International Confederation of Free Trade Unions, ICFTU Africa, which later became the ITUC Africa, and later in the European Union Programme for Africa, based in Asmara, Eritrea. Dr. Mathuki sits in several boards such as the Kenya Investment Authority, Inter-University Council for East Africa, and Center for Excellence for ICT in East Africa, located at the Nelson Mandela African Institute of Science and Technology in Arusha, Tanzania. He is also a member of the Kenya Institute for Management. Dr. Mathuki is passionate about regional integration and is currently involved in the process of implementing the Africa Continental Free Trade Area and formation of the African Business Council. He was equally instrumental in the negotiation of the ESC Common Market Protocol and regional economic issues since 2004. He strongly supported the formation of various East African community platforms, instrumental in the ESC regional integration process. These platforms include the formation of the East African Labour and Employees Organization in the East African community.
Now, members of the private sector in the East African countries have said that there are more opportunities in this community that are not yet exploited as they should be due to the prevailing challenges in the regional community. However, economic experts say that there is need to put more efforts in building a sustainable East African community. Ghislaine Mugwaneza tells us more.
Dize Pascal is the head of Pascal's Technology. He says that he started thinking of doing international business, especially in East African community, after knowing that technological business is possible in Rwanda.
As you know, we have grown our technology locally in Rwanda, and our market is not that big. So when you have grown technology that is strong, that is able to do what you're supposed to do, we have to think bigger, as our president always encouraging us to think big. So is what like our company, we went beyond of thinking just locally, and we thought let's go outside of Rwanda. So we started a company in Nairobi, and it's booming, it's working nicely. And we tested also our technology in Tanzania, it's working.
The East African Community resumed its operations in 1999 after its collapse in 1977. East African Community investors say there is a lot to improve.
The business people in those countries, we're working together. So what was remaining is governments to open up. Especially, as you know, in Rwanda, our government has opened up to anyone who come to open a business in Rwanda. I do request other leaders in the East Africa community, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Burundi, Southern Sudan, and DRC, so they can be able to open up for exploring the opportunities.
I don't need anything to move from Nairobi to Kigali or to Dar es Salaam or to Kampala or to Juba. I don't need any paper. All I need is an identification document, either my ID or my passport, and that is enough. And I don't need somebody to come and tell me that I need to formalize my stay as a community member. Because we still remain with the same old kind of mentality of formalizing immigrants. But what we are trying to do is to liberate ourselves from that. As a community, there has to be that kind of liberation. Let people move. Let people be informal. Through that informality, formality will come with growth. There is, I always say, when you look at the people who are traders, wholesalers, ask them their stories. Most of them were hawkers. They were informal, but they have grown. After some point, you can no longer be a hawker. You must be a formal businessman, and that is what we are trying to do. I mean, within our community, we are facing a huge burden of unemployment. Youth who have gone to school, graduates, many of them, go to Kenya, go to Uganda, come to Rwanda, go to Tanzania, go to maybe Juba. Southern Sudan is a bit different because they got the independence recently.
The Executive Director of Economic Policy Research Network Rwanda, Seti Kwizera, says that a lot have been achieved in East African Community, including financial institutions that got opened in East African Community countries, collaboration in education. However, he says that there are some improvements that are needed.
We should not act as a single nation. If we are in a community, from planning towards implementation, there should be like cohesion and working together. So saying this, there is of course, I do agree and respect the national sovereignty to make sure you are concentrating the plan of development at national level, but member states and our authorities should think beyond. And also, as we struggle planning for our nations, also we see an increase of efforts in the planning for development of the East African community as a region.
The East African Community is made up of 6 countries with more than 160 million people. DRC also requested to be a member of this community. Also, Somalia's admission into the regional bloc is also in pipeline. Jocelyn Mugwaneza, reporting for RTV.
Well, thanks very much, Jocelyn Mugwaneza. Certainly so many expectations, Ethan, for the East African Community. What are some of yours for the next 5 years?
Well, probably we should not talk about the last 5 years for different reasons, but seeing Dr. Peter Mathuki at the helm of the East African Secretariat, the guy who has been there for over a decade, he has a point to prove. I think it's going to be an exciting time for the East African community because he has been, it's all about trade if you look at it. And the fact that he has been leading the East African Business Council, he has a point to prove. And another thing, apparently there was, who was going to be the head of the East African Secretariat. So there were proposals from South Sudan and all that. So we looking forward to exciting times in the East African community.
Absolutely, and hopefully good relations within the bloc.
Sure.
Over to you now. What do you have next?
Now, more stories. Young people are being advised to filter out their views on social media, considering there are still some who deny and negate the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi through propaganda. We have this report.
Social media platforms such as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube are some of the most common platforms used by those who deny and negate the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, spreading false information about the genocide and toxic ideologies. Some of the main perpetrators who live outside Rwanda based on false information they have about Rwanda, according to Muhire Louis Antoine, who grew up in Canada and now lives in Rwanda. Based on my experience, the first category is the people who consume false media information about Rwanda, because there are lots of people with genocide ideologies who talk a lot. Secondly, there are children who have been held hostages by their parents who committed atrocities in this country, and there are those who do it for selfish reasons and lie to get citizenship documents in host countries, so they say false things about Rwanda. So when these young people out there listen to such information together with what their parents say about the country, they are misled and go onto social media to spread false information about Rwanda. Inshuti Lilian is a young social media enthusiast. She says she encounters reports of those who deny and negate the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. That can only bother or mislead someone who is weak to mislead. But because I see the vision of my country, it doesn't bother me, but it inspires me to be different from the ones who have given false information and give my contribution to fight against these people and to better serve our country and develop it. Fidel Ndaisaba, the Executive Secretary of the National Unity and Reconciliation Commission, called on the youth in general to filter the views shared on these social media sites. I would encourage our youth to not pay attention to those who are doing wrong things and to not think about them, but to think, analyze, and fight evil and not cover up for them. The National Commission Against Genocide reminds Rwandans and other people, especially social media users, that they should avoid acts that spread the genocide ideology and other crimes prohibited by the Rwandan law. Every Rwandan has the right to freedom of expression in accordance with the Constitution and other laws, but he or she must not deviate from the provisions that abuse the laws. To health matters now. According to a new report by the World Health Organization, there are about 100 reasons stated as to why people should quit smoking due to the negative effects it has on human health. One reason indicated there is that smokers are among the most vulnerable to COVID-19 when infected. Gabi Muvunyi has more.
Cigarette smokers in Rwanda say even though they smoke, they're well aware of the negative effect it has on their health.
I heard people say that cigarettes contain nicotine. Because of my addiction, I have to smoke one before I can eat. I'm aware that smoking has negative effects on my health. I have tried to quit, but I'm unable to. It is very hard for a smoker to just quit. I've been smoking for 18 years. Now, I'm 37 years old. Many have quit, but I have not been able to. I started smoking because people around me were smoking. I smoke because it feels good, and quitting is not easy. In fact, on a packet of cigarettes, it indicates that smoking kills and causes cancer.
According to the Rwanda Biomedical Center, despite the number of campaigns to raise awareness on the dangers of smoking and ways to quit, 12% of the Rwandan population are cigarette smokers. Medical doctor Naganda Evariste, who works at the RBC Department of Non-Communicable Diseases, says that despite the fact that smoking has many effects on the human body, it is also a major risk factor for non-communicable diseases. He adds that people need to understand the effects that smoking has on the body.
Cigarettes contain nicotine that can damage the veins. Veins carry blood through the body. In general, the air we breathe goes into our lungs. When the lungs are damaged due to the toxicity of tobacco, it will affect the respiratory system. When COVID-19 infects the respiratory tracts of a smoker, that person will face serious respiratory problems.
A report by the United Nations World Health Organization shows that there are more than 100 reasons why people should quit smoking, WHO says that smokers who contract COVID-19 tend to have serious breathing problems that results to lung failure and will need to be put on oxygen support. Among other reasons include that adult smoking is the root cause of various types of cancers such as brain and lung cancer, as well as heart disease, diabetes, among others. Children living with smokers tend to have damaged lungs, which can lead to serious respiratory illnesses in adulthood such as asthma, while children under the age of 2 living in families with smokers are said to develop hearing loss, which can lead to permanent hearing impairment in the future. WHO states that smoking kills half of the smokers. Statistics show that each year 8 million people die from smoking globally, and about 1 million people die from secondhand smoking. The exposure to the smoke causes diseases like lung cancer. WHO indicates that 25% of the world's cancer deaths are mainly cigarette smokers. Various measures are being taken to educate people on the dangers of smoking. Despite all that, there are more than 6.5 trillion cigarettes produced around the year. Gabi Movuni for RTV.
Thank you, Gabi, for that report. And if you can, please, why don't you stop or quit smoking? It's really risky. Now, moving on, the youth in Burera district are happy to have technical and vocational education and training schools brought close to them. This has given them hope for a brighter future. Jen Mutoni has this report.
The first vocational school was constructed in Kawanasel, Lusarawe sector in Burera district. The school has almost all programs of vocational education and training. The youth studying in this school say they are grateful for this opportunity because they were not available in their area before. Before one had to travel to Uganda for vocational courses, it was hard.
But now we can easily access vocational courses, and after one acquires a diploma, he or she can be able to advance to IPRC.
They say the skills that they are being taught in RwandaTV shall help them in the future to thrive in the business world.
There are examples of people that have managed to create businesses after graduating from vocational schools. They inspire us to do the same.
The government's national strategy for transformation on vocational education and training predicts that by the year of 2024, vocational students shall increase by 60%. Vocational schools are required to be fully equipped with tools and teachers in order for their graduates to possess enough knowledge to solve most of the existing issues. The head of the Vocational Education and Training School in Kawanasel, Bizimana Jean-Paul, says the school projects the full vision for vocational education in Rwanda.
Majority of the students graduate with a lot of skills which enable them to improve their well-being. Many vocational schools are being constructed across the country. Many of that have managed to establish their own businesses, have graduated from here. We provide provisional certificates to those that take mechanical courses in order for them to make some income while looking for a driving license, because some of them own motorcycles or work in garages. Those in carpentry are now working in workshops that are in different areas of the country. Here we have all the equipments for all courses which were provided to us by the WDA, whereby no student lacks any equipment.
Currently, the applications for vocational courses are increasing daily. These courses are expected to be the solution to the issues of unemployment among the youth through creativity and innovation. Apart from Burera district, more vocational schools are being constructed in Kibuye, Bungwe, Chanika and Ruhunde sector to educate more youth. These schools have been a source of jobs to the residents in those areas, as well as hope for the future of their children.
It's a good thing. Our children are going to have vocational schools near them, as we also work to improve our well-being and contribute to the development of the country.
Residents in sectors along border had requested President Paul Kagame for construction of vocational schools, of which he promised to fulfill, as explained by the governor of the northern province, Gatabazi JMV.
It was necessary for us to extend this request to His Excellency Paul Kagame. We want our youth to join the vocational schools in order to gain the skills and invent businesses that are needed in the area, whether in infrastructure, water supply, mechanics, and carpentry workshops, so that they can also provide jobs to others. We also hope that these youth can use the skills to find solutions to the issues in their district.
In the whole of Northern Province, over 64 vocational schools have been constructed, of which 12 of them are in Rwanda district. 6 of them have opened for students, while the rest are still under construction. Jane Mutoni, reporting for RTV.
Thanks very much, Jane Musoni, for that report. Now, in other news, the Rwanda National Police has paraded 5 people before the media, including 3 of them that are being accused of forging movement clearances that allow 18 people to do business in the provinces, while movements between Kigali and other provinces and other districts of the country are not permitted. Other 2 men are also suspected of obtaining the property of another person by fraud. They all say that they've been committing these crimes for a long time.
The mistakes that I accept I committed, I didn't respect measures in place and moved from home without a movement clearance message. Another mistake that I committed is that I linked other people to those that give me a forged clearance from Irembo.
The Rwanda National Police spokesperson CP John Bosco Kabera has said that people should know well where to ask for different services in order to avoid such actions.
We are telling Rwandans that whoever wants to move from Kigali to province should approach the Rwanda National Police and get the movement clearance. Be it a person or a team, they should all come to the Rwanda National Police for a permission instead of finding someone to do that for them. Another team is this one, that falsify money. What we ask Rwandans is that they should know authorities from which they can ask for services and where to get those services. They should ask if they find some confusions. Otherwise, I think that misunderstanding and negative thoughts leads to those actions of stealing from people.
Now, in other news that we have tonight, as trail bridges become more prevalent across the country, construction experts emphasize that trail bridges will boost trade and enable the economy to grow at a rate of more than 20%. We have this report.
One end of the trail bridge is in Nyamirama Cell and the other is in Kanyinya Cell, all of which are in the Muhanga district. It takes at least 135 meters to finish crossing this trail bridge. It is the longest bridge in all of Rwanda. The Nyarubuye River flows through the area, and residents explain that it often kills many people that have tried to cross. The river has killed up to 4 people, including a child who was coming from Gitarama. All these people have been killed here. The bridge is one of the 12 already completed in Muhanga district, although the goal is to reach 26. Due to the nature of the mountainous region, making it difficult for people to travel. We are very happy that we now have this trail bridge because it will help us move freely going to health centers and school-going children being able to access schools without any difficulty. Muhanga District Mayor Kaitare Jacqueline says the administration is doing its best to make anything that allows the community to thrive to happen. These bridges are mostly needed in the areas of Ndiza in Nyabinoni sector, but we believe that the next year we will put other bridges up as well. But currently we are in the process of identifying and seeing which areas are in most need so that we can simplify the lives of our residents. The districts contribute 40% to the construction of the trail bridges, while development partners account for 60% of the budget needed. This 135-meter-long bridge cost 137 million Rwanda francs. Engineer Runguko Jean Damour of Bridges to Prosperity reveals that the increase of such bridges will increase the economy by an average of 20%.
ubushakashatsi bw'ibanze bwamaze kugaragaza ko
Research shows that immediate benefits residents get from using these trail bridges on a daily basis to conduct their business, such as going to the market and other things, are up to 25%. But there are also other benefits like being able to access medical services and for students going to school. About 4,000 people on a daily basis use this trail bridge among the 83 that have been built in Rwanda. 355 trail bridges are to be constructed in the country by 2024, and 250 million bridges are required to be constructed worldwide to help people connect with trade. And in sports news now, the national cycling team aboard Ethiopian Airways departed for Egypt this Saturday afternoon ahead of this year's schedule to take place from March 2nd to 6th, 2021. Team Rwanda, with 14 riders and staff, led by coach Felix Semhoma and captain Areruya Joseph, is expected to land in Cairo on Sunday morning after a stopover in Ethiopia.
Now, Team Rwanda is comprised of riders who will compete in men elite race, women elite and men junior category. Our very own Kaishema Tititieri, who traveled with the team, spoke to Samuel Mugisha, who is also known as the King of the Mountain, about their expectations in the 2021 Africa Continental Road Championship.
This year our target is to work together as team, and then the first thing is to win some medals there. Especially we want to look of the gold medal.
You have trained 1 week. Are you satisfied with training?
Yes, of course we are, but it's not like 100% as we used to do before. But we're looking forward to give for everything we have, and we hope we do it.
What's your, I think, are you favorable for time trial or road race?
Time trial is the first things we want to get a medal, and we wish to get number 1, and we will see. And also in the road race we will do also much better to see if we can get some result, not the same like last year.